November 15th, 1244. A man dressed entirely in black walked into the marketplace of Konya, Turkey. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew where he came from. But this stranger, this wandering mystic with piercing, penetrating eyes, was about to do something that would change the course of history. He was about to destroy Rumi completely, break him, shatter his entire identity, obliterate everything Rumi thought he was, and from that destruction would emerge the greatest mystical poet the world has ever known. His name was Shams of Tabriz, and the story of what happened between him and Rumi is not just a historical tale. It's a map, a blueprint, a radical teaching about what it truly means to be transformed by love. Today I'm going to tell you the story they don't teach you, the real story, the one that will make you question everything you think you know about spiritual awakening. Stay with me. Before we talk about the meeting, you need to understand who Shams of Tabriz actually was, because he was unlike anyone Rumi or anyone else had ever encountered. Shams was born around 1185 in Tabriz, Persia. But beyond that, almost nothing is known for certain. No clear birth date, no documented family lineage, no formal education, no lineage of teachers. He was a mystery, a ghost, a wandering dervish who appeared and disappeared without warning. From a young age, Shams experienced mystical visions. He spoke in riddles and symbols. He made people deeply uncomfortable. Why? Because Shams didn't care about religious formalities. He didn't bow to scholars. What good are all your prayers if your heart is still full of yourself? You study books about God, but you've never met God. Stop worshiping rituals. Start worshiping truth. Imagine how that sounded to religious authorities in the 13th century. Shams was dangerous, unpredictable, wild. He traveled from city to city, never staying long, weaving baskets, selling simple goods, sleeping wherever he could. But here's the thing. Shams wasn't wandering aimlessly. He was searching. For years, he had been asking God for one thing. Show me someone whose heart is vast enough to contain you. Show me a companion, someone worthy of this fire I carry. And God answered. He sent Shams to Rumi, the meeting that shook the world. Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi was 37 years old when he met Shams. Brilliant, learned, admired. He had studied under the greatest teachers. He had mastered Islamic law, theology, philosophy. Hundreds of students followed him everywhere. He was successful, stable, accomplished, but something was missing. All those books, all that knowledge, all those books, all those lectures, and yet he had never actually experienced the divine. It was all secondhand, borrowed, intellectual. And then Shams arrived. The story is told in different ways, but the core is always the same. One afternoon, Rumi was riding through the marketplace on his donkey, surrounded by his students. He was reading books, teaching, holding court, and suddenly a wild-looking stranger stepped out of the shadows and grabbed the bridle of Rumi's donkey. Shams looked directly into Rumi's eyes and asked a question so piercing, so challenging, that everything stopped. One version says Shams asked, who was greater, the Prophet Muhammad or the mystic Bayazid Bastami? Rumi, the scholar, answered immediately, Muhammad, of course. He is the greatest of all prophets. Shams smiled, a dangerous smile. Then why did Muhammad say to God, I have not known you as I should have, while Bayazid said, glory be to me? How great is my station? The question was a trap, a cone, a spiritual bond. If Muhammad was greater, why did he confess he didn't know God fully? And if Bayezid was lesser, why did he declare his oneness with God so boldly? Rumi tried to answer with his intellect, but Shams didn't want intellect, he wanted truth. And in that moment, something in Rumi broke open. Witnesses say Rumi fainted. He tumbled from his donkey, collapsed to the ground, unconscious. When he woke up, everything had changed. Another version, the books in the water. There's another version of the story that's equally powerful. Shams walked past Rumi, who was sitting with a pile of books. Shams glanced at them and asked, "What are these?" Rumi, with scholarly arrogance, replied, "Something you wouldn't understand." Without a word, Shams picked up the entire pile of books and threw them into a nearby. Rumi was horrified, devastated. But then Shams reached into the water and pulled the books out completely dry. Not a single. Rumi stared in disbelief. "What is this?" And Shams looked at him with those penetrating eyes and said, "This is something you wouldn't understand." In that instant, Rumi realized all his learning, all his books, all his knowledge, it was nothing compared to direct spiritual experience. Shams had just shown him the difference between knowing about God and knowing God. From that moment on, Rumi and Shams became inseparable. For months, some say years, they locked themselves away in spiritual retreat. No students, no public appearances, just the two of them, in deep, mystical communion. They called this practice Sohbet, sacred conversation. But it wasn't just talking, it was transmission, soul to soul, heart to heart. Shams was breaking Rumi down, shattering his ego, stripping away every false identity. All the pride Rumi had in being a scholar, Shams destroyed it. All the attachment to reputation and respect, Shams burned it away. Every defense mechanism, every intellectual shield, Shams tore through it all. And Rumi let him. Why? Because Rumi recognized something in Shams that he had been searching for his entire life, the divine made human, God walking in flesh. Rumi later wrote, "What I once thought of as God I met today in a human being." But not everyone understood what was happening. Rumi's students were furious. His family was confused. The entire city was in an uproar. Their beloved scholar, the dignified, respected teacher, had abandoned everything. He stopped teaching, stopped lecturing, stopped caring about social obligations. All he wanted was to be with Shams. People whispered, gossiped, judged. They didn't understand that Rumi wasn't just befriending a man. He was undergoing a complete spiritual death and rebirth. He was experiencing fana, the annihilation of the ego, through the presence of his beloved teacher. The pressure became too much. Shams could feel the resentment, the jealousy, the danger. One day, without warning, he vanished, gone, just like that. Rumi was devastated, shattered. He wandered the streets like a madman, crying out Shams' name. He wrote poetry dripping with grief. "Where are you? Where are you? My life, my soul. Without you I am dead, though I walk among the living." For months Rumi searched, sent messengers, begged for news, and finally word came. Shams was in Damascus. Rumi immediately sent his son to bring Shams back. When Shams returned to Konya, Rumi ran to meet him. Witnesses describe the scene. The two men fell at each other's feet. No one knew who was the lover and who was the beloved. They were no longer teacher and student, master and disciple. They had become mirrors of each other, reflections of the same divine reality. For a while, peace returned, but the jealousy, the resentment, it was still there, festering, growing. And then came the night that changed everything. In late 1248, something terrible, but what we know is this: Shams of Tabriz disappeared for the final time, and he was never seen again. Some say he was murdered, that Rumi's jealous disciples, or even Rumi's own son, killed Shams in the dead of night, that they buried his body in secret, so Rumi could never find him. Others say Shams chose to leave, that he had completed his mission, that he had transformed Rumi fully, and so he simply walked away into the wilderness, into legend. We will never know the truth, but what we do know is this: when Shams disappeared, Rumi's heart broke open completely, and out of that broken heart poured the most beautiful poetry the world has ever known. For years after Shams' disappearance, Rumi wrote and wrote and wrote thousands upon thousands of verses, all of them addressed to Shams, all of them soaked in longing, love, grief, and ecstasy. He created the Divan-e Shams-e Tabrizi, the collected poems of Shams of Tabriz. Over 40,000 verses. Rumi didn't even sign them with his own. He signed them as Shams, because in his mind he and Shams were no longer separate. Shams lived within him, spoke through him, breathed through him. Rumi wrote, "I searched for Shams from town to town. I traveled through Syria and Iraq, until one day I realized, why should I seek? I am the same as he. His essence speaks through me." This is the ultimate Sufi teaching. The teacher doesn't just give you wisdom. The teacher becomes part of you, and eventually you realize there was never any separation. You and the teacher, the lover and the beloved, the human and the divine, all one. The lessons for your life. So what does this ancient story have to do with your life? Everything. Because the relationship between Rumi and Shams is a mirror. It shows us what real transformation looks like. Not comfortable, not easy, not transformation requires destruction. Rumi didn't become a great poet by adding more knowledge. He became a great poet by losing everything he thought he was: his identity, his reputation, his certainty. Shams didn't teach. Shams destroyed Rumi, and only after that destruction could the true Rumi emerge. This is why the spiritual path is so difficult, because it's not about improving yourself, it's about dying to yourself. As Rumi said, die before you die. For Shams, he reflected back to Rumi everything Rumi needed to see about himself: the ego, the arrogance, the attachments. We all need a Shams in our lives, not necessarily a spiritual teacher, but someone who sees through our masks, someone who challenges us, someone who refuses to let us hide. That person might be a friend, a partner, a mentor, or sometimes life itself becomes your Shams, the crisis, the loss, the heartbreak, the thing that shatters you and rebuilds you. The relationship between Rumi and Shams was built on love. Not romantic love, not attachment, but a love so vast, so consuming, that it dissolved all. Rumi loved Shams so completely that he ceased to exist as a separate self, and in that dissolution he found God. This is the Sufi secret. When you love deeply enough, whether a person, a practice, or the divine itself, the ego cannot survive. It burns away in the fire of love, and what remains is pure presence. Pure disappeared, but he never truly left Rumi, because the transformation he sparked was permanent. Rumi carried Shams in his heart for the rest of his life, and through Rumi's poetry, Shams continues to speak to us. 800. This is the paradox of the spiritual path. The teacher may leave, the experience may fade, but if the transformation was real, it becomes part of who you are. The story of Rumi and Shams is not just history. It's a living invitation, an invitation to be shattered, to let go of who you think you are, and discover who you really are. Rumi didn't find Shams by accident. He found Shams because he was ready to be destroyed, ready to be transformed, ready to let love consume him completely. And so I ask you, are you ready to meet the person or the experience that will shatter everything you cling to? Are you ready to lose yourself so you can find God? Rumi left us with these words: let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. Shams was that pull for Rumi. What is that pull for you? Follow it, even if it terrifies you, even if it destroys everything familiar, because on the other side of that destruction is the poetry you were born to write. If this story touched your soul, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to The Spoken Soul for more wisdom from the great Sufi masters. And remember, the teacher you seek may already be seeking you.